According to the 2017 National Electrical Code, a disconnect is required on the second enclosure housing the motor controls. Article 430.110b addresses disconnect requirements for stationary motors. Specifically, this section states that in addition to the provisions of Article 430.109, for stationary motors rated 600 volts, nominal, or less, located outside of the general purpose space, either a disconnect or a circuit breaker capable of being locked in the open position shall be provided within sight from the motor location. An exception to this rule shall be for a motor that is not capable of being restarted automatically after a power failure. This requirement stems from the need to provide a readily accessible means of disconnecting power to the motor for safety during maintenance, repairs, or in emergency situations. The phrase outside of the general purpose space refers to locations that are not typical office or residential environments, such as industrial facilities or areas dedicated to specific equipment. Since the motor controls are housed in a separate enclosure connected to the main panel via conduit, they are considered to be outside the main enclosure's general purpose space. Therefore, a disconnect is mandatory within sight of the motor location. The disconnect must be capable of being locked in the open position, ensuring that the motor cannot be inadvertently restarted while someone is working on it. This lockable feature enhances safety and prevents accidental energization. The disconnect can be either a dedicated disconnect switch or a circuit breaker that can be locked open. The choice between the two depends on factors such as cost, available space, and specific application requirements. The critical aspect is that it must be readily accessible and capable of being locked in the open position. The exception to this rule applies to motors that are not capable of being restarted automatically after a power failure. If the motor requires manual intervention to restart after a power outage, the disconnect requirement might be waived. However, this exception should be carefully evaluated and documented, as it may not apply in all situations. It is crucial to consult with a qualified electrical inspector to ensure compliance with local codes and regulations. The inspector can provide guidance on specific requirements and ensure that the installation meets all applicable safety standards. When selecting a disconnect, it is essential to consider the motor's voltage and current ratings. The disconnect must be appropriately sized to handle the motor's full load current and withstand any potential fault currents. Using an undersized disconnect can lead to overheating, equipment failure, and even fire hazards. The disconnect should be installed in a location that is easily accessible and free from obstructions. It should be clearly labeled to indicate its function and the equipment it controls. Proper labeling helps prevent confusion and ensures that the correct disconnect is used in emergency situations. Regular inspections and maintenance of the disconnect are essential to ensure its continued reliability and safety. The disconnect should be checked for any signs of damage, corrosion, or loose connections. Any issues should be addressed promptly to prevent potential hazards. In addition to the disconnect requirement, it is also crucial to ensure that all wiring and connections are properly installed and grounded. Improper wiring can lead to electrical shocks, equipment damage, and fire hazards. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, helping to protect people and equipment from electrical shock. All electrical work should be performed by qualified and licensed electricians who are familiar with the NEC and local codes. These professionals have the knowledge and experience to ensure that the installation is safe, reliable, and compliant with all applicable regulations. Failing to comply with the NEC and local codes can result in fines, penalties, and even legal liability. It is essential to prioritize safety and ensure that all electrical work is performed to the highest standards. In summary, the NEC requires a disconnect for motor controls in a separate enclosure to provide a readily accessible means of disconnecting power for safety during maintenance, repairs, or in emergency situations. The disconnect must be capable of being locked in the open position to prevent accidental restarts. It is crucial to consult with a qualified electrical inspector and use qualified electricians to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. By following these guidelines, you can ensure the safety and reliability of the electrical system and protect people and equipment from potential hazards. This requirement, as noted in Article 430.110b, is very important to follow.